All right, welcome to the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Kelly, and I'm here with, back again, Pilgrim Benham.
Hey.
And Pilgrim is part of the Calvary Chapel Bible College here on our campus, church campus, and Bible College campus. And Pilgrim's going to be joining me a lot these days for interviews and for advice and for wisdom and all the other great things that you have to offer. So we're gonna extract on the Cultivate Church Planting Podcast all your wisdom, information, and also
It's going to be a short episode then.
It should cover at least 2-3 episodes.
Oh, okay.
And on top of that, he's going to help me today interview my very, very good brother from another mother, from another continent, Pastor Zeddie Muzungu, who is the pastor of Calvary Chapel Kampala, Uganda. And hey, Zeddie, how are you?
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Finally, I get to see you.
Finally, yeah. Last time I saw you was last year at the Expositors Collective. We had over 300 attendants at the conference in Kampala. It was amazing. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Together, yeah.
But just a little background on Zeddie, and then we'll let you fill in the blanks. But when I was a very young man, 23, 24 years old, we moved to Uganda and East Africa with a team to plant a church in Kampala. We didn't know what we were doing, but God's grace covered it all. And Calvary Chapel Kampala started, and that was 20. How old is the church now?
23. That was 2002.
Okay, 23 years old. And so, you know, we were there. I was there as the senior pastor for 10 years. We moved back to the United States, and Zeddie had gone through Calvary Chapel Bible College because we had also started a Calvary Chapel Bible College extension campus, and many students have graduated. I believe there was around 100, 200 students that have gone through the program.
Close to 300 now over the past.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we, Pastor Zeddie went through that program. Before he was Pastor Zeddie, he was just regular guy, Zeddie.
Just Zeddie.
Yeah. I was just
You know, it's funny how that works, because I was just Brian, then I became Pastor Brian, now I'm just Brian again. It's like, oh. But thanks for being here, Zeddie. Zeddie's visiting. He's in town. He's going to share a little bit on this Sunday at the church. And so I said, hey, could you give your wisdom?
tracked you down.
Yeah, track me
Kept
down.
looking around for Brian.
Because we want to hear about Africa. We want to hear about Uganda. We want to hear about what God's doing. Because I can tell you this, as far as within Cultivate and the church planting program that we have with CGN, is we get so many people that are connected and interested in church planting from
East Africa.
Yeah,
That's true.
for sure. It's a huge area where we've got a lot of guys that are interested in planting churches. And so you could call it a hotspot for God's work of church planting.
It is.
And it's not just for indigenous, local African, Ugandan people. It's also for missionaries that want to come over and help. I mean, we did it long term. And you tell me what you think about this, Zeddie, and you can chime in too, Pilgrim, as you're here with your wisdom, with all your wisdom.
Stop saying that. So I'm going to open my mouth and say something dumb.
You know, let's get right into this. There's kind of a debate among missions, that they say, you know, you really shouldn't go to other countries as missionaries. You should just try to raise up missionaries from their own countries to reach their own people. And I think that's valid, but I also believe in the power and validity of international foreign missionaries coming over and starting works, doing works. Although long-term, I do think that it's, you're living proof of the stability and the strength of someone who knows the culture, who has lived there, grew up there, born there, taking over a ministry and work. What do you think, Zeddie? Do you think, do you want missionaries to come over and help start churches and plant churches? Well, if someone's listening, they're like, I want to plant a church in Uganda. Can they come?
Yes, they can come. We still have so much room. In fact, recent statistics, we did a national census last year, and we don't have enough churches to accommodate the population growth. pretty much like schools. We don't have enough schools to accommodate the population growth, so we don't have enough churches by per capita for all the Ugandans to attend on a Sunday. So we have people who are unchurched, not because they don't want to go to church, but because there's no church within a radius of maybe 10 miles for them to go to. So, and obviously as evangelicals, we don't have enough Bible teaching churches for healthy growth in our country. Right. The ones that are present are obviously very shallow in their teaching, very charismatic, very emotional, more than Bible-centered and Christ-centered.
Yeah. I want to get to that in a second too, because that's a huge part of ministry in countries like Uganda. But coming back to that topic of other missionaries coming over and helping, starting.
I was going to say this. One of the things that a foreigner brings, like an American brings, is we have so many tribes in Uganda, and most likely somebody will go to church because the pastor is from their tribe. So what a foreigner comes is they're able to pull in people from every tribe because they're kind of neutral and they're not seen as having divisive or even any bias. They are welcoming everybody, so they won't segregate anyone. I mean, for you guys who are here, Africans look the same. That's okay. But in Africa, we can identify each other by certain things, either by tribe or name. So it's very easy to be segregative. So a foreigner can pull together everybody. So everybody will feel
How many
comfortable.
tribes do you have?
52.
52 tribes in Uganda, each with their own unique language.
Each language is unique.
What's the national language, the main language? English. So English.
Yeah. So anybody, we have about 75% English literacy in Uganda. So you can plant a church anywhere in the country and everybody will understand English. Yeah.
So the language barrier is not the barrier.
No,
it's a cultural barrier.
It's the cultural
and tribal
probably.
barriers, but not language.
Yeah, and I would add on to that.
I mean,
Zeddie,
Pastor Brian never spoke in Luganda for the last.
You know what's funny is we tried to learn. So Luganda is the main tribe is the Buganda tribe in Uganda. So that's the majority population tribe. And so most people, especially in Kampala, the capital city, the biggest city, is speak Luganda as the
it's like the
tribal
business travel street language.
So if any Uganda you talk to, will know at least 3 languages. Or 4.
Yeah, I speak about 5.
Yeah, so English, then their tribal tongue, tribal language, which is going to be their first.
Yeah, Swahili is also going.
Swahili is on there, and then Luganda, because that's the main tribal language. So it's a very, even though I like what you said, Zeddie, an African, quote unquote, comes over, and we don't know the difference between, Congolese versus South Sudanese versus Nigerian. But even within countries, because the tribes themselves, the countries are not divided up by tribe. It was the English and the Portuguese and the French that came over and said, okay, now here's the
they just did
here's
the
dividing lines. And then we won't get into too much of that, and then you have one country that half the tribe is in one country and half the tribe's in the other. And still is the same tribe, speaks the same language. So you get into these. I love what you said, Zeddie, because there is an advantage of being a foreigner in that context. And so there is opportunity, but I will say this, what we've learned over the years, personally as well as seen in other missionaries from United States or England or wherever, is that the biggest hindrance of a missionary coming over and doing the work is a lack of willingness to integrate within the culture of the people that we're going to minister to. So it's almost like there's like, all right, if you want to, and this was classic back in the early days of mission work with England and all them, is like, become a Christian and become English, become a Christian and become American,
right?
Become a Christian and become, it's like, we even got like, become a Republican, coming over. Although one time, you remember back, I don't want this to be controversial or anything, but
too late.
We can try.
You remember back when I think it was Trump's first term, and he was talking about Uganda, and he said it was a he said a bad word, hole, like a horrible place. And
horrible place like Uganda.
Started a word that started with an S, hole, and then about Uganda. And so when I went over there after that statement was released, everybody was like, "Hey, how come your president's going, saying this about us?" But it was that, and I don't want to make any judgments. That was just a comment that was made, and the response that I had from Ugandans when I went over there. But it's kind of like almost that attitude that we come with, like a superiority, maybe kind of attitude.
You come to Americanize.
And that's the danger of foreign missionaries coming in is a lack of humility and unwillingness, flexibility. Yeah. So
I think we need both and. So
and openness to learn the culture. I think Africans are very open. Because we have so many tribes and so many cultures. I mean, every culture is different within a radius of 10 miles. So we're very open to learn something from another tribe. Yeah. But foreign missionaries tend to be very rigid. They're like, I don't get that kind of a thing.
Yeah. I feel like it should be both and. So KP Yohanan, Gospel for Asia, that was his big thing.
That was his thing,
like 30 years ago.
Revolution and World Missions.
Yeah.
Great book, but that was his main kind of point.
Why spend all this money funding, one couple to move and, they have to go through all these language and cultural barriers. And then, then they leave or they die and, the work may or may not continue. Why not, just invest in the foreign, the foreign nationals. So there's, I think there's pros and cons on both, but I think it's a both and. We're supposed to go into all the world and disciple the nations. So there should be a willingness to step out and say, yes, Lord, and cross any cultural or language barrier. But, it should not be, this is the best way of doing it. It should be a both and. Because you guys, you're in Uganda, but you're doing work with CCBC, like praying about reaching the Congolese. So that's, we could make a statement there, like, okay, well, only the Congolese should reach the Congolese, but I think it should be a both and. And I think long term, it's the people that you reach there locally, let them, but maybe someone's got to be the sharp end of the spear and get into the work.
Because you guys have so much resources that we have no idea about. You have so much exposure to theological training. We have so much exposure to books and history, and you have a long Christian history as a nation, and you have schools, you have seminaries, you have every church is pretty much opening the Bible every Sunday. That's not the case in Uganda. So there has to be somebody who comes in and opens the eyes of the nationals and say, well, let's open the Bible. And most Africans won't even bring a Bible to church. You're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to church. Where's your Bible? What's a Bible?
I've got bad news for you, Zeddie. Most Americans won't even bring their Bibles to church anymore. But that point is very valid.
But in line with theological training, you guys have so much access and so much experience for many years in line with theological training.
I was surprised a few years ago, I met a lady at the mall, and she was sharing the gospel. She was South Korean. And I said, so where do you live? And she said, I just moved here from South Korea. And I said, I'm a Christian. So we got into that. And I said, well, what brought you here? And she said, I'm a missionary from South Korea to Florida to reach people for the gospel. And I was like, I don't know why. It just blew my mind a little bit.
The Ugandans shooting into Europe to plant churches.
Wow.
In fact, I think the largest evangelical churches all across Europe are planted by Africans or foreigners.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think we need to realize this as Christians in our world is that God's work is shifting. He works in different countries and different places at different times. Yeah. And I really believe that, England was a big, huge center for missions and for the gospel work. United States, of course, was and still is to some extent a hub. But it's moving now. It's moving to South America. It's moving to Africa. It's moving to Asia, the global South. Yeah, it's and we need to be prepared when we talk about church planting that this is what we're talking about. If you want to plant a church in the U.S., awesome. That's going to be great. But if someone's coming to us, like we're developing within Cultivate with Pastor Manolo in Peru, a Spanish website, core team, leadership team, coaches, all in Spanish, resources that is going to be not independent from our U.S. Cultivate kind of team, but is going to, be exclusively for the Spanish speaking.
Localized.
Yes, localized, because we got to get on board with what God's doing. If we're planting churches and helping people plant churches, we're helping people in Uganda. We're helping people in East Africa, South America. And that's the beauty of the gospel, the Great Commission, and having friends like you, Zeddie, that you can be a man on the ground, because we loved Uganda. We lived there for 10 years. We learned a lot of the culture. But there is, going back to that first question, there is a limitation that I had. I would always be a white guy from America, a foreigner. And so I will never truly integrate into the culture, no matter how hard that I try.
Yeah. And, but you did really well.
Thanks.
Really well. Yeah.
I tried to learn the language. I tried to learn Luganda.
If you don't grow up in a multilingual culture, it's very hard to learn a new language.
You know what the problem was? Because they always say, you got to be immersed. And everybody's speaking Luganda around Kampala. But so we took classes and everything when we first got there. We're like, we're going to learn the local language. And so we'd go out and try to speak Luganda, and then people would laugh. People would laugh and then talk to us in English. Like they want to talk to us in English. So they don't want to talk to them in Luganda.
Just stop.
Yeah, just stop.
I mean, there are missionaries who've been there for 40 plus years, and they can't say a few words in Luganda.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But they have been effective.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you go out into some of the villages and stuff, and we use translators and things, but... Calvary Chapel Kampala, we taught...
It's a city, so everything is English.
So you have... How many services do you have at the church?
We have 4 services on Sundays. Yeah. The first one in Luganda, I do the English ones, and then another pastor does a language from another country, Burundi.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elvis?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This dude, he's a good guy. We should get him on the show at some point.
Yeah.
They have a... and each of the services is different. So Luganda is the first service. That's the Maiden Tribe language, and then you do 2 English services, and then you do the Kinyarwanda. What's the name of it? Kinyarwanda, yeah. Kirundi, yeah.
Yeah. The French-speaking parts of Africa are not yet penetrated by Calvary. So DR Congo, there's so much effort. In West Africa, I think there's some guys doing work in Nigeria and Ghana. But in the French-speaking areas, there's very little penetration of the gospel. So we're trying to get into Congo, Chad, Central African Republic.
Do you parlez-vous any Francais?
He said about 5 languages. So
about 5.
Maybe
I can
that's
say,
the about.
Bonjour, bon appetit,
So
comment s'appelle.
really.
Not so much.
Croissant.
So let me sabotage the podcast real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
This just dawned on me. So this is Cultivate Church Planting Podcast, but both of you took over. So you've planted churches, but you both, in this context, in Calvary Chapel Kampala, both took over an established work. So I just find that interesting.
Yeah. I didn't really take over an established work. We were part of that church planting team, so we helped. I took over for the lead pastor that was part of the team, and maybe Zeddie says this about me too, but we kind of, it's a long story, but yeah, that is a good question.
Because there might be some of our listeners or viewers who are saying, well, I don't know if God's called me to plant a church, but I might actually be in line to take over a work.
No, but that's a good one. So in my case, I was 23 when I went over there. I wasn't an ordained pastor. I wasn't a church planter. It's like, church planter. No, I was. This guy said, you want to come to Uganda? We want to be missionaries.
Yeah.
Lynn and I both did. Lynn wanted to go to Uganda because a missionary came and spoke at the Calvary Chapel Bible College in Marietta and was talking about the work in Uganda and orphanages and stuff like that. She wanted to go to Uganda. I wanted to go anywhere. And we got...
But make sure it's with Lynn. Yeah.
Yeah, with her. So she's like, Uganda? I'm like, yeah. And this guy's like, hey, you want to come to Uganda? We're going to do a church plant there. And I'm like, yeah. So we went over right, since day one. And so that's a good... What I'm saying is, get on a church planting team. You don't have to be an expert church planter or have all the tools and resources necessary. Go with someone that's willing to go if you're scared to be the lead, and then get on that team and then see what God does from that. It's all a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need more churches planted, even in Uganda, even in Kampala. We have about maybe 4 million people within the city and the suburbs. So we don't even have enough churches for those people to go to. Yeah. So.
But Zeddie, your church, Calvary Chapel Kampala, has been sending out church planters and planting
Yes,
churches.
we've done like, I don't know, 10 churches in the last few years. So there is a need. There's a need for more Bible teaching churches in Uganda. So
Yeah. Let's go back to that topic again. And it's the lack of discipleship in Uganda. There's a lot of Christians.
lots of
Majority
Christians. The recent census says 80% Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not 80% churched or discipled and grounded and grown.
So when someone comes in and plants a church, if it's not a Calvary Chapel or a Bible teaching church, what are generally the large churches and the churches that are being planted within this Christian community? What do they look like?
Well, the thing is that every area is different. If you get out of Kampala, it gets a little rural and green and very, farming communities. So the cities, you'll find lots of businesses, a lot of trade, a lot of travel. Like Kampala has a lot of that.
International.
Yes, international. Yeah. It can be very mixed. But for the most part, if you get out of the city, then it's going to be very indigenous Ugandans, very native Ugandans who will attend the church. And it will just be somehow localized, but because of the tribal mix, it can spread. I mean, Calvary Kampala has been a place for so many people to come in and out, whether internationals or natives or people within the region from East Africa, because it's a city people travel in for work, for study, for school, for lots of other things, sometimes even for holiday, and they'll get a dose of sound Bible teaching for maybe a few months or a few weeks even, and that is transformational.
Once you sit in a service, and Pilgrim, you can talk about this because you've always been part of expositional teaching churches, and once you sit in that kind of a Bible teaching environment, it's like your eyes are almost open. It's like I almost said a come to Jesus moment, but you already came to Jesus, but you sit in that kind of a service and you're like, wow, this pastor is teaching from the Bible rather than just using the Bible to supplement whatever they're trying to teach.
Yeah, and we have a lot of requests. Somebody may come in maybe from the north or from the east or from the south or from the west, and they'll end up in Calvary Chapel Kampala, maybe hear the music, the worship, and then walk in, and they'll go, could you please come to our region and plant a church? And, we can't send anybody like within a year or two. So it is a whole process of getting somebody, training them, equipping them. And as somebody maybe comes into the city from that area, we normally ask, do you have anybody within your area who may be interested into some discipleship? And quite often they'll be like, yeah, there's somebody. So they will come to the city, get them through Bible college. They may even do like just a year out of two, or even a semester, but that just bring the lights on. Yeah.
You literally just unlocked a memory that I had from Bible college. This is interesting. So Josh Taransky had a special meeting at Marietta, and he basically said, hey, we get requests all over the country or the world, but America, to plant, hey, will you send someone to plant, I don't know if it was through K-Wave or through the Bible college, but anyway, he had this list, and it was thousands of cities where there was just a small group of it could have been one or two people up to 30, that just said, hey, we love the expositional Bible teaching. Will you come? Will you send someone? And I remember sitting in that. That was sort of maybe the precursor for being into church planting. It's about 10 years later, but yeah, that's interesting. There is a hunger for it. I tell Jen, we kind of ruin people when you go to Calvary Chapel, because you'll never be able to. Once you taste it,
they don't eat anything else.
Yeah, you've been eating junk food your whole life, and then you finally get a nice steak.
Eat
with,
healthy.
Baked potato, and you don't do baked potatoes in Uganda.
We do.
You do boiled potatoes.
We can boil, we can fry, we can do.
Yeah, fried potatoes and fried grasshoppers.
No, not it.
No? That's actually a delicacy, huh?
It's a delicacy in central Uganda.
Central, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like them or no?
No, anymore. I ate too much when I was younger.
Yeah. My kids loved them when we lived over there. They would get fried grasshoppers all the time.
What's your favorite American food?
Ooh.
Favorite American food?
And least favorite American food?
Brisket.
Oh.
So this is cheating because he was just in in Tennessee, in Nashville with Jeff Geip.
Okay.
And he ate at some of the greatest barbecue places.
So briskets at the top. What would be the thing you would like? No, thank you. You would skip.
I don't like sandwiches, but Chick-fil-A is good.
Okay.
Bread for Ugandan is a meal for breakfast.
Okay.
It's not lunch or dinner. So sandwiches, burgers, hamburgers is not a thing. The internationals obviously have influenced the culture in the city, but anything with bread is not for me.
Have you ever had In-N-Out though?
Yeah.
All right, but it
For
has,
breakfast.
Double.
dude.
Back for
I'll eat
breakfast.
In-N-Out for breakfast. I don't even care.
That's fine.
I'll do
10:30, right when it opens.
Yep.
Still breakfast.
I'll eat In-N-Out for breakfast. That's interesting. I never really thought about it like that because the bread is a
So bread is typically a breakfast
breakfast,
meal.
yeah.
Not lunch, not dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have chapatis. They're like thick tortillas. They're
Tortillas.
really good.
Yeah.
Food in Uganda is great.
And we have lots of variety, so fresh and organic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Pilgrim, are you going to go to Uganda and help Zeddie plant churches in the Congo? And there's thousands of people that want churches.
I'll pray about it. How about that?
Yeah, there could be somebody listening and they're looking for a place to go. Please contact us and come and see. And maybe you'll do short term, maybe long term. God will guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself ever going out and planting and starting another church?
Yes, I am working on a process because the Bible college is a small classroom of 15. We have requests from all over the region, and the one thing they're asking, do you have dormitories? And like, no, we don't. And living in the city, you won't be able to afford it if you're a student coming to college. So what I want to do in the next few years, and you guys can be helpful on this, we want to raise some funds and move the Bible college out of the city into an area that we can buy and build. So I would literally move myself, leave another pastor to Pastor Calvary Kampala, and then I'd move with the Bible college and replant a church and re-establish a Bible college out of town with dormitories, with facilities, so that our intake could go up to 50 with dormitories. So students can come and live on campus for cheap. It's free subsidized accommodation. They can cook their own meals and live there for a semester or a year or two, something very affordable. So that's cool. My thought in the next few years.
That's great because what people don't understand about, you think of Africa, you think of like the rural, like, you know, the banana
jungle.
trees and tea leaves, plantations.
He talked about the snakes.
The snakes, yeah. So we were just talking before the show that, you know, I think I saw one snake in 10 years. You don't see them really that much in the city. They're mostly out. The city of Kampala, 4 million people. Calvary Chapel.
Super urbanized.
Yeah, it's urbanized.
Yeah.
And this church is right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the city center. Right downtown.
Kampala,
So, you know, there's not a lot of space for dormitories and,
Or
you know, that
snakes.
sort of.
We can't expand that building. We can't.
Snakes.
Yeah, we just can't do anything with it. It's kind of a box.
It's a
building,
great centralized location for
Yes.
people traveling in.
And those are a good place for the initial initial decade of the church. But now, because of the growth in the Bible college and the church, it's a box building. We have 4 services on a Sunday, so we can't put another service. We can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
If there's a rich person out there that wants to contact you about investing in Uganda, because here's the thing, and I know you'll agree with me on this, Zeddie, because we talk about this all the time. There's a lot of people from Uganda, from Africa in general, that will petition Western countries, United States, for finances, for money.
Yeah.
And it's very hard there's a lot of fraudsters out there, and there's a lot of illegitimate churches and ministries.
Yeah.
That, but there is also a lot of need and a lot of opportunity for the dollar that you have to go much further for the Lord in places like Uganda where God's working. Yeah. So to get a guy like Zeddie, or there's many others that we have connections with.
Well, even church planting, you know, dollars go. Think about your first year as a church plant. You know, you want to do a big celebration. You know, it's our first anniversary. You have, you know, here in the States, we have $100.
Yeah.
You know, that'll be plenty. We can do a cookout, brisket, we can get balloons, you know, but try that when you're 15 years in, and $100 is like a joke. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So even church planting, the dollar goes further.
Exactly. And so what I'm saying is, we need to get behind works like what Zeddie is doing, what Calvary Chapel is doing over there. So what's your email if someone wants to email you?
Kampala@calvarykla.com. So
Kampala@calvarykla.com. I'll put it in the show.
Yeah.
And just say,
and they can go to our web and see the website.
The website.
And,
What's the website?
www.calvarykla.com.
Calvarykla.com. That's the easy way to do it. And you can see Zeddie's, if you're listening to this on audio, you can see Zeddie's smiling face on there. Are you on the website?
I think so.
Is Hope's his wife? Is she on the website? Because she's kind of, no offense to you, but she's better looking than you are.
I know. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's why I married her.
Yeah. You married up.
There's a thing in Uganda, well, among churches and pastors, like the guy will be like the senior pastor and the wife will be like the assistant. So that's
the
pretty much
other
why.
senior pastor.
You may not see me and my wife on the website, so we're not mistaken for...
Right, yeah, that happens here too.
Pastors,
yeah.
Pastors Zeddie and Hope, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she wants to be a pastor.
I'll become the bishop and then she's like the pastor.
She always has to be
lower.
You can't be totally equal, huh?
Yeah, if you'd like to support the work in Uganda, please let us know. And
can someone come visit you if they want to?
They are more than welcome to visit. You guys are putting together a team for 2027.
2027,
so somebody can sign up and plan ahead and make the trip and see.
Yeah, we did that Expositors Collective with Mike Neglia and the gathering over there, and it was really, really great. It was
that sounds like
attended.
the biggest. I've been a part of Expositors for
that's right,
almost the beginning. I think I went to the third ever event and then have been a part of it since. But that's definitely the biggest one by far.
Yeah,
by like double.
I'm telling you, this is an opportunity for ministry, for church planting.
That's right. I mean, the church growth, just the Calvary, there are so many other groups doing church planting in Uganda. So when you guys came, Calvary Chapel Kampala was like the third Calvary in East Africa. 1, 2, 3. This is 2 decades ago. Right now, we had a conference and over 250 men showed up. And I'm thinking 3/4 of those guys are senior pastors. So we have lot of village churches.
Calvary Chapels.
Yes, of Calvary Chapels in villages and cities planted over the last 2 decades as a really good and amazing, miraculous wave of God in our country and in our region.
You know, the most common question I get when people find out I've lived in East Africa and Uganda for 10 years, they say, was it hard? You know, was the ministry hard? Was it hard to live there? And my answer is always, it was extremely easy and extremely hard, both. Extremely easy because the spiritual ground is so fertile that even a guy like me who thought I knew I had it all figured out and started teaching, people would come to hear because it was expositional, even though it wasn't great.
Yeah.
You know, I look back at some of my early messages, you know, and it's like, or some of my notes from the early days, I'm like, what?
What was I thinking?
But so it was extremely easy because it's almost like you think of sowing the seed in a farm or whatever, and you just, it's so fertile, it just grows like crazy. And so in that sense, ministry was so easy. Living there is more difficult, and that's one of the things we talked about in the beginning of
the traffic,
foreigners coming over, and especially
the language.
Yeah, the language, the culture, the traffic, the chaos.
The chaos,
you know.
Yeah.
And so that was difficult. The lack of infrastructure in certain places, but
infrastructure.
But doable. Doable because if you're willing to, like, I would rather be in a place that is hungry for the gospel, and I know my teaching ministry is going to have that much more effectiveness
and impact,
and yet harder to live in than being a place that's easier to live in where the ministry may not have that much of an impact. But it's all about where you're called.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Zeddie, thanks for being on the show again. You were on one time before, year or so ago.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we're going to go get some sandwiches.
Hey, it's breakfast.
Breakfast
time.
Is it lunchtime?
You need to get some brisket.
Some brisket. Do we have good brisket in Florida here, Pilgrim?
No.
Yeah.
So when I lived in North Carolina, everyone loved this one place called Prime Barbecue. And we went and visited, and it's from Texas. So the North Carolinians love Texas barbecue.
Yeah.
You could find one. I saw a Texas Roadhouse around the corner. So
yeah.
Maybe.
We do have barbecue here, but there's a difference. I don't want you to be disappointed because you were just with Jeff. And
it's Florida. Florida doesn't have barbecue. So it's either Texas barbecue or Kansas City or North
Yeah.
Carolinian.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Texas is my favorite.
Yeah, same.
But
It's more sweet.
yeah. Okay, but we'll have we'll do Chick-fil-A or something. Pilgrim, once again, thanks for being on the show, and always great to have you. And let's keep planting churches.
Amen.
Let's keep going to different countries. Connect with Zeddie. Send him some money for the Bible college.
Thank you.
All right. Good having you guys.